What's happening, everybody? On today's show, plenty of postseason awards handed out last night. Several SEC guys going home with hardware. We'll tell you who. CBS Sports, they ranked all 130 college football teams post-conference championship weekend. We'll run through where the SEC teams rank. And 24/7 Sports listed the best transfer portal moves from this past season. Several SEC guys on their list. Locked on SEC starts right about now.
You are Locked On SEC, your daily podcast on the Southeastern Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And what's happening, everybody? Welcome into Locked On SEC. Great to have you guys along. Today's show is brought to you by NetSuite. NetSuite is the #1 cloud financial system to power your growth. Head to netsuite.com/LockedOnNCAA for special end-of-year financing on the #1 financial system for growing businesses. I'm Chris Gordy. Thank you guys for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. Remember, Locked On SEC is free and available on all platforms, including YouTube and LockedOnSEC.com. Don't forget to follow us at LockedOnSEC on Twitter, and I'm at Chris Gordy. Let's jump into it. Plenty to discuss. Let's go around the conference.
Boots out to the right. Takes the handoff. What a catch!
Around the conference.
And we start with last night as Alabama quarterback Bryce Young won the 2021 Davey O'Brien Award at the ESPN College Football Awards. Bryce Young is the second straight tied quarterback to win the award, joining Mac Jones, who was last year's winner, and the first Alabama quarterback to take the award home. The Heisman Trophy finalist, Bryce Young, he has thrown for over 4,300 yards as a sophomore, totaling 43 touchdowns, just 4 interceptions. He's coming off a stellar performance during the SEC championship game where he threw for 421 yards and 3 touchdowns. Also yesterday, Bryce Young was named the Associated Press College Football Player of the Year, giving the Crimson Tide its second consecutive winner. Bryce received 42 of 53 first-place votes from the AP Top 25 voters, finishing ahead of Michigan defensive end Aiden Hutchinson. By the way, Alabama linebacker Will Anderson was 4th in voting for the AP College Football Player of the Year. Funny, though, he didn't get an invite to the Heisman. Go figure. Meanwhile, Georgia defensive lineman Jordan Davis, he is collecting the trophies. He was announced as the 2021 Chuck Bednarik Award winner last night. In addition, he was named the recipient of the 76th Outland Trophy. The Outland Trophy is awarded annually to the nation's best college interior lineman on offense or defense, and he is the second Georgia lineman to earn the award. He's also just the second Bulldog to win the Bednarik, joining David Pollock, who won it in 2004. Davis anchored one of the country's top defenses this year. The Dogs allowed the fewest points per game in FBS, thanks in part to Jordan Davis. And they yielded just 81 yards rushing per game. That's the lowest total in the country. Their 253 passing yards allowed per game ranked second in FBS. Meanwhile, Alabama's Jameson Williams, he figured to be a favorite to win the Biletnikoff Award. He did not. That award went last night to Pitt's Jordan Addison. So, well, nothing against Jordan Addison, but Jameson Williams was basically uncoverable this year. So, anyway, I'm sure he'll take out his frustrations in the playoff games. Alabama, by the way, some bad news for them. They are going to be without their top cornerback during the college football playoff as Josh Jobe underwent surgery this week to repair a foot injury, and he will miss the rest of the postseason. That's from Matt Zenitz at On3 Sports. Jobe returned to Alabama after he passed on the NFL draft last year. This year he had recorded 38 tackles, 4 pass breakups, 2 interceptions. He had 7 tackles alone in Saturday's SEC title game, the win over Georgia. Some coaching moves. Brian Kelly over at LSU. He's adding another familiar face to his staff. As it was announced, Jake Flint, the co-director of Notre Dame's strength and conditioning program, will join LSU as its director of athletic development. Flint played under Kelly at Central Michigan, followed him to Cincinnati, and then he's been in South Bend with him ever since 2010. Meanwhile, LSU running backs coach Kevin Falk will not be kept on the new staff. That's according to The Athletic. Also, Corey Raymond, one of LSU's better recruiters, their DB's coach, he was announced he is leaving for Florida and will be joining Billy Napier's staff. Raymond has been at LSU for over a decade. He coached DBs under the Les Miles era and then was retained in the Ed Ogeron era. Helped bring in guys like Derek Stingley. 2020, Raymond was added recruiting duties, coordinator duties to his resume. So a big get for Billy Napier at Florida. Also, Florida is expected to hire Mississippi State's Jamar Chaney as a senior defensive analyst. That's from On3 Sports as well. Chaney is a former Mississippi State NFL linebacker who was on staff at Mississippi State the last 2 years as a senior analyst. He spent the 2019 season at Florida as the assistant director of player personnel. Ole Miss going to have to find a new offensive coordinator as Jeff Lebby is headed to Oklahoma to fill the same position on Brent Venables' new staff. Lebby helped oversee the development of Matt Corral, who would be tasked with doing the same in Norman. Lebby and Venables will be reunited for the first time. They were both part of Bob Stoops' staff back in the day at Oklahoma. Lebby posted to social media yesterday, hard to describe how thankful we are as a family for the last 2 years. What an incredible ride it has been. Thank you, Ole Miss. If you watch the Rebels, we've become so accustomed to Lane Kiffin being the play caller, but very much so this year, he defaulted to letting Lebby run the offense. So worst case, Lane can take back over the offensive play calling duties, but still he'll need an offensive coordinator there to help him game plan. Texas A&M, they recently lost their head strength and conditioning coach, Jerry Schmidt, who departed for Oklahoma. The Aggies are going to promote from within. Brandon Sanders has been named the new head strength and conditioning coach for the Aggies. And after moving on from Mike Bobo at the end of November, Auburn still searching for their new offensive coordinator, and they're focusing in on Arizona State offensive coordinator Zach Hill. According to AL.com's Tom Green, the Tigers moved on from Hill, and now they're looking at three other names: Florida State offensive coordinator Kenny Dillingham, Texas A&M wideout coach Damian Craig, and Georgia running backs coach Del McGee. So keep an eye on all of those names. Some roster movement around the SEC. We'll just call this section departures. Missouri cornerback Caleb Evans announced last night he is declaring for the NFL draft. Evans originally played for Tulsa, where he spent 4 seasons, totaling 82 tackles there. Following the 2020 season, he entered the transfer portal and chose Mizzou over Notre Dame. In his lone season in Como, he registered 28 tackles and 6 pass deflections. Meanwhile, over at Florida, Billy Napier, he's going to have to find a new wide receiver to add to his depth. Jacob Copeland, redshirt junior, announced he will enter the transfer portal. He appeared in all 12 games this year, started 11 of them. He was the Gators' leading receiver with over 600 yards receiving and 4 touchdowns. On3 Sports reported Copeland is entering the portal. He had a pair of big games this year, including a 100-yard day against Mizzou and 175 catches, 175 yards and 2 touchdowns against South Florida. Over at Arkansas, they got the news the other day. No surprise, but Treylon Burks is entering his name into the NFL draft. One of the best receivers in the SEC this year, potential first-round pick. Burks has decided to end his Arkansas career, will opt out of the Hogs' upcoming Outback Bowl matchup against Penn State. Meanwhile, over at South Carolina, they will be losing their leading rusher in the Duke's Mayo Bowl. Zaquandre White announced Tuesday night he will begin preparing for the NFL draft. In his redshirt senior season, White led the Gamecocks with 583 rushing yards, 6.6 yards per carry. Also at South Carolina, they're going to have to add some more depth to their secondary, losing some guys to the transfer portal. Defensive back Dominic Hill, he entered the portal on Wednesday, following fellow defensive back Jamar Brown. South Carolina always got good DBs, but man, that's 2 more guys that they're going to have to replace. A week after Aaron Brule entered the transfer portal at Mississippi State, the linebacker has decided where he's going. He announced he is going to play at Michigan State. Brule in his career at Mississippi State had over 142 tackles, 8 sacks. He's a redshirt junior. Represented Mississippi State at SEC Media Days back in July, so it's a big loss for them. Meanwhile, a lot of movement over at Kentucky. One of their defensive ends is going to enter the transfer portal. Isaiah Gibson, who was a signee from the class of 2019, he's entered the portal. He redshirted during his first year of college, played 9 games in 2020. This year, he added 4 tackles through 6 games. Also, just days ago, KD McDaniel entered the portal, another member of Kentucky's defense. He was a sophomore, played in 5 games this year. Running backs Travis Tisdale, Torrance Davis, they are set to depart the program, as well as quarterback Nick Scalzo and offensive lineman Jake Pope. Meanwhile, at LSU, former LSU quarterback Miles Brennan, he is looking for a new program after entering the transfer portal, and reports say Nebraska's entire coaching staff went to Baton Rouge to recruit the quarterback. His 5-year LSU career was interrupted by injuries. Max Johnson ended up securing the starting job this year. Southern Miss also on the radar for Miles Brennan. Over at Missouri, Jamori Macklin, the cousin of star wide receiver Jeremy Macklin, he started his career at Mizzou, but earlier this year decided to enter the portal. Now it appears he has found his home. He is going to be playing at North Texas next year. And lastly, the Vanderbilt Commodores landed their 20th commitment Wednesday night for their recruiting class. 3-star cornerback Trudell Berry committed to the Commodores. He's a 6-foot-tall, 180-pound athlete, ranked as the nation's number 56 overall athlete. And there you go. That is around the conference. Man, plenty to discuss there. We didn't get to do that yesterday. Thank you guys again for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. When we return, we're going to get into ranking the top 130 college teams. Obviously, CBS Sports, they like to do this, and they like to do it post-conference championship weekend because that way you get a good read on, all right, we've crowned our champions. Now we're heading into bowl season. Let's see where all these teams rank as we head into it. So when we come back, we're going to run through the SEC teams and where they ranked in CBS Sports' rankings. Locked On SEC continues right after this. Always good to remind you guys about our friends over at On Location. Look, if you want to kick things up a notch for the big game, the grand stage, the Super Bowl 56 at SoFi is less than 100 days away, and On Location is the official hospitality partner of the NFL. They're the only place to score a once-in-a-lifetime Super Bowl ticket and experience package to the big game. Select your exact seats, choose from elite experiences featuring an exclusive pregame celebration with college stars turned NFL legends like Troy Aikman, Marcus Allen, Tim Brown, and others, plus accommodations at 5-star Los Angeles hotels, food by the great Wolfgang Puck. Visit onlocationexp.com/SB56 for more info, or just search Super Bowl On Location. That's onlocationexp.com/SB56, or just search Super Bowl On Location. Look, guys, this is it. The putt to win the tournament. If you sink it, the championship is yours. But on your backswing, your hat falls over your eyes. Is this how you are running your business? Poor visibility because you're still relying on spreadsheets and outdated finance software to see the full picture. You need to upgrade to NetSuite by Oracle. Look, NetSuite is the #1 cloud financial system to power your growth with visibility and control of your financials, inventory, HR, planning, budgeting, and more. NetSuite is everything you need to grow your business all in one place. If you're just starting up your business or you've been running for a while, you need to go check them out. Over 27,000 businesses already use NetSuite. Right now, through the end of the year, NetSuite is offering a one-of-a-kind financing program to those of you ready to upgrade at NetSuite, NetSuite.com/LockedOnNCAA. Head to netsuite.com/LockedOnNCAA for special end-of-year financing on the #1 financial system for growing businesses, netsuite.com/LockedOnNCAA. Going along here, Locked On SEC. Thank you guys again for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. Let's jump into it because CBS Sports, they have ranked their all 130 college football teams following conference championship weekend. So as we head into bowl season, here is where they have the teams from the SEC ranked. And we start #1, Alabama, 12-1 overall. Alabama moved up 3 spots in their rankings in the top 130 prior to bowl season after college football's most notable win of the season, a 17-point thumping of previously unbeaten and top-ranked Georgia. Bryce Young was superb with 4 total touchdowns in Atlanta as the Tide clinched the top seed in the college football playoff. Coming in at #3 is Georgia, 12-1. All of Georgia's goals still ahead of them, but certainly cannot be feeling very good after Alabama routed the Bulldogs 41-24 in the SEC title game. Georgia's secondary could not contain Bama's star receivers. Quarterback Stetson Bennett turned the ball over several times. That just cannot happen. Kirby Smart's group will undoubtedly bounce back, and they can get another shot at Alabama with everything on the line, but they are not invincible, as some may have been thinking. Still in the top 10, it's Ole Miss. Lane Kiffin deserving a few National Coach of the Year nods this season for what he was able to accomplish with the Rebels. Ole Miss heading to a New Year's Six bowl game after overcoming injuries to finish one game back of Alabama in that brutal SEC West. Coming in at number 24 with the Arkansas Razorbacks, an 8-4 finish. Sam Pittman, look, nothing short of incredible what he was able to do this year when you consider they had the number one toughest schedule coming into the season by far, bar none. And to win 8 games was very impressive. And, man, Arkansas has come light years ahead of where they were just a couple years ago when Chad Morris was running this thing into the ground. Rounding out the top 25, Texas A&M. Look, a nice season from a standpoint of you finally broke through. You got the monkey off your back. You beat Nick Saban in Alabama. Congrats, Jimbo. But the quarterback injuries cost you a couple games earlier in the season. It was looking like it was just going to be a 3-loss season, but, man, you let one slip away at Tiger Stadium against LSU in your season finale. Still not one win in Baton Rouge since Texas A&M has joined the conference. A disappointing finish to the season at 8-4, but the way Jimbo is recruiting right now, they'll quickly forget about this 8-4 season if they can turn this thing around next season. Continuing on, Kentucky comes in at number 26 in the country, 9-3 overall. Again, Mark Stoops' name was popping up for a lot of big jobs around the country. There's a reason for that. He's done a fantastic job at Kentucky, and the Wildcats going to have a chance to cap off the season with a 10th win in the bowl game. Coming in at number 36, Mike Leach and Mississippi State, a 7-5 season. Nothing to hang your head about if you're a Bulldogs fan. Look, I had Mike Leach on the hot seat coming into this season. I thought he was going to be gone, but kudos to Mike Leach. Some big wins this year. Tough schedule. They need to figure out how to get this offense a little bit more consistent and get that defense to get a couple more stops. Mississippi State could be an 8-win, 9-win, maybe even 10-win season next year if they can do that. Coming in at number 40, another impressive season for Josh Heupel, going 7-5. The Tennessee Volunteers ranking 40th in CBS's rankings. Hendon Hooker really turned this program around with the quarterback play and Josh Heupel's play calling. Very impressive, and the arrow pointing upward for the Tennessee Vols. Coming in at number 47, they've got Auburn at 6-6. Man, what a nice start it was midway through the year for Brian Harsin, but what a slide on the back stretch of the season. Too many losses, including blowing a game that you had Alabama beat in the Iron Bowl in your finale, and you let it slip away. Disappointing end of the season that led to Mike Bobo's firing, and going to have a new offensive coordinator in there very soon at Auburn. Continuing out the rest of the rankings, they've got LSU coming in at 51, 6-6. Not a terrible showing to go 6-6 in a year you're firing your head coach and Ed Ogeron, but obviously higher standards at LSU. That they've brought in Brian Kelly from Notre Dame, and they're expecting 9, 10-win plus seasons from Brian Kelly moving forward. Florida, they come in at 63, 6-6. It's funny how LSU's 6-6 maybe feels a little bit better than Florida's 6-6, although both ended with wins to get bowl eligible, finishing out the season. A nice win over Florida State to cap off the year for Florida, but they got a lot of question marks. Is Emory Jones going to be back next year? Anthony Richardson? How's Billy Napier going to do this thing? He's got to build a whole staff and start recruiting very quickly with the Gators coming in at 63. Coming in at 64, one spot behind them, South Carolina. Shane Beamer, a nice job to get to 6-6 in year one. Will Muschamp certainly left a lot of holes there to fill for Shane Beamer, but he's starting to recruit well, and the arrow pointing upward for the Gamecocks. But he's got to do better than that. Can't just go 6-6 every year in South Carolina. They have aspirations to be better than that. And rounding it out, Missouri coming in at 72 overall, 6-6. A nice job by Eli Drinkwitz. Middle of the season, things were looking dismal. They were able to get a couple big wins down the stretch, so not a terrible season, but they expect bigger things than that in Como. Eli Drinkwitz going to be a name on the hot seat going into next year. Got to do better than 6 wins. And coming in at 122, just an impossible situation for Clark Lee and Vanderbilt. A 2-10 season. They're going to do their best. If I'm Clark Lee, I just hit that transfer portal. Got anybody in any program that wants to come here, 4-star, 3-star, come play quarterback, come play running back, come play DB. We can use you all at Vanderbilt. Possible situation. Hey, at least you're not 130, 122 for Vanderbilt. And there you have it. Those are all the SEC teams in CBS Sports top 130 college teams rankings heading into the bowl season. When we return, we're going to touch on the 24/7 Sports all-transfer team for 2021. A number of SEC players coming in on that list. Thank you guys again for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. And we'll touch on that in just a second. First up, need to remind you about our friends over at Built Bar. Look, this holiday season, grab the protein bar that tastes like a candy bar, even better than a candy bar. Built Bar filled with so much holiday goodness, rich with decadent flavor, covered in chocolate, but amazingly low in calories, sugar, net carbs, and fat, and high in protein. You get the best of both worlds, delicious and healthy. Built Bar gives you that extra fuel you need to bust down those mall doors and battle all the holiday shoppers out there. Or if you're just standing in endless shopping lines, Built Bar can give you that little extra something to keep you going. So throw one in your jacket or your purse. You never know when you're going to need to reach for a Built Bar. Go to Built.com right now. Use our promo code LOCKED15. That's LOCKED15. Get 15% off your order. Use the promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off over at Built.com. Going along here, Locked On SEC. Appreciate you guys for listening, making us your first listen every day. Let's jump into it because 24/7 Sports, they put out their all-transfer team for 2021. College football players who made the greatest impact from basically our first year of the transfer portal, being allowed to jump wherever you want, not have to sit out a year. And the first name they have on this list, a really good one, obviously, just missed winning the Biletnikoff. It was Jameson Williams, Alabama wide receiver, ended the season as the fifth most productive receiver in the country, catching 68 passes for over 1,400 yards, 15 touchdowns, an average yard per catch of 21.3. He showed his all-world speed, could be a first-round pick with his ability to score on any play. He's a junior, transferred in from Ohio State after 2 seasons in Columbus. Where would the Tide be this year without Jameson Williams, especially with his running mate, John Mechie, going to miss the rest of the playoffs? Jameson Williams is going to be relied on heavily throughout these playoff games for Bama. The best utility man on the 24/7 Sports all-transfer team, how about Wandel Robinson from Kentucky? He was electric for the Wildcats this year, catching a Kentucky record 94 passes for 1,164 yards, 7 touchdowns. Robinson was a huge spark for Kentucky's offense with his versatility and yards after the catch. He transferred in from Nebraska, quickly became one of the most dangerous offensive weapons in the country for Kentucky. Another guy who transferred into Kentucky, Darian Rosenthal, coming in from LSU, one of the most talented linemen in the country with his size and his movement skills at the spot. He was excellent pass protection for Will Levis, improved as a run blocker throughout the year. The LSU transfer, Darian Rosenthal, has NFL physical qualities and ability. He'll take his talents to the next level. Coming in on the D-line, they list John Ridgeway at Arkansas. He fit into their tough demeanor on that Arkansas defense, became one of the leaders up front for the Razorbacks, has the size and strength to control the line of scrimmage and fit his gap in the run game. Ridgeway put together a Pro Football Focus score of 64.2 on the season, recorded 2 sacks, 4 tackles for a loss. He was a transfer from the FCS Illinois State and earned an invite to the Senior Bowl. Another guy, big-time playmaker coming over from Tennessee, Henry Toatov from Alabama. 24/7 Sports listed him as the #1 transfer player of this past cycle. He did what they expected him to do in Tuscaloosa. A magnet to the football, recorded 100 total tackles, 8 tackles for a loss with 4 sacks. Spent 2 seasons in Knoxville before coming over to Alabama and taking over as the leader of the defense. His instincts and ability to get to the ball, special. Another guy we talked about, Ole Miss and their defense. Man, they got to get better. They did this year, and a big reason why was a transfer from Maryland by the name of Chance Campbell. Big reason why Ole Miss's defense was so improved. Campbell led Ole Miss with 99 total tackles, was second with 12.5 tackles for loss and third with 6 sacks. He led the team in quarterback hurries as well. An all-around great season for Chance Campbell. And lastly on this list, Darian Kendrick, the cornerback at Georgia. He was a Clemson transfer, made second-team All-SEC after a productive season at Georgia. Kendrick matched up well against some of the country's top wide receivers, recorded a 79.5 overall Pro Football Focus grade on the season. His athleticism and ability to play on an island make him a legit NFL draft prospect. And he'll have to do it again for Georgia in the playoffs. Also, before we wrap up the show, I did want to mention the SEC released their All-SEC freshman team yesterday, and some big names on this list. I always like the All-SEC freshman team because this just gives you an idea of what we're going to be expecting down the road. The future is bright for superstars in the SEC. On offense, they named Anthony Richardson, the quarterback, of course, from Florida. Jarquez Hunter, the running back from Auburn. Raheem Sanders at Arkansas. Ladd McConkey at wide receiver, along with Malik Neighbors at LSU. Brock Bowers, man, one of the best tight ends in the country, really established himself at the tight end spot. The O-line, it's Broderick Jones, Reuben Fothery, Eli Acker, Tyshawn Wanamaker, and Bryce Foster. Their all-purpose was Juju McDowell. On the defense, Mason Smith from LSU, along with Shamar Turner, Mekhi Wingo, Alex Huntley. The linebackers, Dallas Turner, man, he made his presence felt at Alabama. Trevin Wallace, Edgerrin Cooper. And in the secondary, Keely Ringo, Tyreek Chappell, Kool-Aid McKinstry, and Tysheem Johnson, all making the All-SEC freshman team. Special teams, Cam Little, your kicker, Jeremy Crawshaw, your punter, and Juju McDowell and JoJo Earl, your return specialist. And that's your All-SEC freshman team. There you have it. As we wrap up the show, a quick reminder to go check out our friends over at Locked On Bets. You made us your first listen. Make them your second listen. Go get your picks for the weekend with your boy Q and Lee Sterling. They'll be giving you all the action that you need heading into this weekend of get the Army-Navy game, but we still got NBA, we got college basketball. We'll be shifting our focus a little bit, discussing some more SEC and college basketball as we get closer to conference play. Of course, we'll have you covered with all the bowl games. We're going to have some very special guests joining us as well in the coming weeks. We'll have some guys who are just wrapping up their college careers in the SEC, getting ready to prepare for the Senior Bowl, getting ready to take their talents to the NFL Draft. Well, tons of great guests. Make sure you're subscribed and checking us out, not just wherever you get your podcasts, but also at YouTube, where you can search Locked On SEC. I'm Chris Gordy. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Hit 'em hard.